Cool. So we have Claire Smyth from Microsoft. She's our MVP lead in the UK.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
It's okay, you're only 12 minutes late, but it's better late
I'm
than never.
so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was busy talking to my fellow MVP. Well, not that I am an MVP, but the wonderful MVPs.
So we also have Steve Goodman, who's been on this morning, and Andy as well.
Hello.
So please introduce you guys again. So I guess first off, Claire, so what's the MVP program for people who don't know?
Great question. So the MVP program is about recognising outstanding community contributors. Now, these are community contributors who have shared their knowledge within the blogging space.
Yeah.
They're on forums. They are doing events such as this amazing event. They are running meetup groups, a whole host of different things within the technical community that makes them stand out. And we as Microsoft want to offer them a thank you and a recognition. So it is very much a recognition award program for great work within the community.
How many MVPs are there in the UK right now?
160.
Wow, so quite a few.
There are a few, but if you look at the IT landscape as a whole, there are a lot of IT pros.
Yeah.
We have numbers that range from 800,000 to 900,000, and then also 300,000 developers. So it is a very small number, I believe.
Of over 1 million people.
Yeah. Who have touched or are involved in technology in some way in this country.
And being an MVP yourself, guys, I mean, what value do you get out of being an MVP?
Loads.
Lots.
Apart from the benefits that come with, right?
We get free Office 365 tenant. I don't think you don't do anything to be an MVP to get any sort of benefits. It's useful to get Office 365 tenant, things like that. But if you work at Microsoft, then you get those kind of things anyway. So it's really nice to have recognition for doing the work. But I think,
the clarity would benefit. Like the personal, what you get out, the buzz that you get out of it.
So for me, it's all more about the networking side of it. Being an MVP, obviously, meeting people that I wouldn't normally meet in different categories.
Yeah.
So obviously, during this event, there's a lot of people in different award categories that generally I wouldn't be real Office service MVPs who we don't normally go across into the Azure stack or intelligence automation. So having that that network of these guys within the UK, which is a small network, and be able to then reach out to about certain technologies or get involved in something they might be doing, cross collaborate.
So aside from you mentioned the award categories there and Office services being one, how many are there offered? Do you know off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I could probably reel off all of them, but there are many different categories. And if you go to mvp.microsoft.com, then you can see each and every award category. And underneath the award categories are all of the product areas that the MVP award looks at and awards people for. Just to be really clear, we do not award people within the current MVP program for any consumer activity that they're doing. So this is very much IT related.
Right. Okay. Cool. In terms of, in terms of the Office services, so myself and Andy, we've got a focus on Skype for Business. Steve's got a focus on Exchange and
Office 365.
There we go.
There's data platform.
Yeah. Do we still have to focus on a particular area, or does the MVP program award people who've got a broad spectrum of experience and share that broad spectrum of experience?
It is a great thing to have that broad spectrum of experience, and we really do encourage it. There will always be an area where you will place more emphasis on the technology that you know, so you will end up in a certain award category. But yeah, absolutely, going across all of our technologies, because let's face it, that's the world that people live in.
Yeah.
But I suspect, if you were to be honest, there is a particular focus area for you, and that fits within the Office services.
What does Microsoft get out of awarding people MVPs? What do you get back from?
We get so much out of awarding MVPs. So if you think about 160 MVPs in the UK, some of them are speaking, some of them are blogging, some of them are answering questions on forums. That equates to millions and millions of people hearing about our technology. And there's 4,000 MVPs worldwide, all doing amazing community work.
Yeah.
So it's a huge thing for us, and we're really appreciative of it, and that's why the award is given out. So
And how do you become an MVP?
Well, you three should be telling everybody this, not me.
This I always think is an interesting question, because way before you were an MVP, you were very well known for doing this show, but you weren't an MVP.
But also you got as well.
Yeah. So, but from everybody here's perspective, they knew who you were, and it did. And I don't think for you it would matter whether or not you were an MVP. And for me, before I was awarded, people were, I thought you were an MVP. No, there's people who become MVPs who've been doing it for a long time, and they built up their own community following. And it's good to be an MVP, but it's not who they are. It's something that's really great, right? I'm proud to be an MVP, absolutely. And there's some people that are very proud to be an MVP, and I always will be, as long as I'm an MVP. That is. But I think you've got to be seen to a community as providing value first, and you've got to do it for your own reasons. I remember the first time I met Andy at the MTC, one of my customers. We started working at Company Phoenix on the same day. Neither of us were MVPs, but Andy, I've written a book, and Andy wanted to start doing the same sort of thing. He wanted to get involved with the community, and he did. And you did this for a long time before you were an MVP. The first UC day, all the user groups were really about doing community events. You wanted to give something back. You wanted to help people out.
So if you look at from my path to being an MVP, so obviously I've been an MVP now for 3 years. But obviously before that, I was running user groups and obviously blogging and editing the UC podcast.
Yeah.
So they're all little things that I was doing. Obviously helped build my portfolio, because obviously it's a year's worth of contributions, basically up to the next CV in MVP. But obviously once I started doing these events as well on a larger scale, and obviously expanding the user group out further, that obviously then drove my MVP status a little further. Not obviously, I wasn't really a well-known person at the time. Probably not a well-known person now, but who knows? But obviously it's just all about doing what you're doing in the community and just driving that that awareness. Basically building a brand.
I think you have to want to do it for what you get out of it, in terms of helping people and feeling like you've made a difference. If you think, I want to get an MVP badge, then maybe you will, but next year you won't, because you'll have accomplished your goal, right? And
the motivation drops.
And there's a few people who are one-time MVPs. You must see that they'll get what they want out of it, and then they'll move on, and good for them, right?
Yeah. So, in terms of nominations, so MVPs, Microsoft people, basically anybody can nominate anyone. You can nominate yourself. I mean, is there any weight in preference whether somebody nominates you, whether you have to nominate yourself?
No, it's a really good question actually. So no, absolutely none. And I know that there is this stigma attached to nominating yourself to be an MVP. You believe you are doing great work within the community. Why shouldn't you be able to put yourself forward? And I would encourage it. And unless you do put yourself forward, one of your colleagues may either forget, think you've already been nominated, and then you end up missing out. So please don't be afraid to put yourself forward. And if you are working with somebody who you really believe is an outstanding community contributor, you need to be proactive and nominate them, because it is a really good thing to do. It is a really great way of being able to say thank you, even if it is just a nomination that they received and they aren't quite hitting the bar to be an MVP. We can work with them, and I think the nomination in itself is a thank you.
So it's kind of like a secret that nobody really knows the answer to, right? So
I'm still learning.
So we submit a nomination, we get an answer back saying we've got submitted. I mean, what goes on in the background to evaluate that nomination, and how long does it take?
It takes a long time. Once the nomination comes through to me, then we look at and scrutinise everything that you're doing. We will also go out, we will talk to people within Microsoft, people within the community, and we will really work hard to ensure that every single community contribution you put in is true. Because actually, you guys, well, I know you don't, but you could tell me that you've written 500 blog posts in the last year. But we need some way of being able to validate that. So obviously we go onto the blog site.
You're more thorough than some people. There was an Argentinian MVP who it's like being awarded twice in a way, because he took one of my books, he took all my blog posts, he took a chapter of Henry Walther's blog post, and he posted these on his own blog, made ebooks. It was all our content, and he got awarded. It managed to go through not just the local subsidiary Microsoft, but also approved, I guess, by the product group. He got awarded everything, and Tony Redmond noticed this and made a bit of a stink about it, because the guy hadn't actually written anything himself.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen so much in like the UK, Europe, or the US. Like stuff gets found out rather quickly.
I think it's if they're in a non-English speaking subsidiary, but then they've written all these blog posts in English, perhaps the things can slip through the gaps, because.
There does seem to be different criteria, but that's not what the program's about.
I think when people amalgamate other people's work, I don't know that that's such a bad thing, as long as those other people are given the credit for what it is that they've delivered originally.
I think you have to ask for permission.
Well, exactly.
Before you steal people's content.
But the piece that I need to be really clear about being an MVP is you need to be an amazing technical expert. First and foremost, you need to be a technical expert, and as I've said, an amazing one. And then you need to be able to demonstrate all of this great sharing and community activity that you've done. If you don't have that level of technology, again, when we scrutinise your blog posts, we're going to be able to see that.
I mean, how do you decide, what's a really good blog post and what's not so great? So, let's say there's somebody out there now who spits out a blog post a week, for instance, submit them and say, I've done all this effort, but that effort might not translate into an award. So, what's the deciding factor?
I mean, it's the same deciding factors as any real social media when you're looking at it. How many people are actually looking at it, reading it? What are the comments? What is the feedback? And if there is any question, we have an army of technical people within the MVP team, and also a team called Commercial Software Engineering, who will look at the blog posts and be able to verify them for us.
Yeah. And what bit of advice would you give to any potential MVPs who are looking to get into the program, about what they need to be doing, what's the right thing to do, what's not the right thing to do, for instance?
Yeah. So my first thing that I'd say is get involved.
Yeah.
Do not be afraid to find out what meetup groups are in your area, what user groups are in your area. If you are doing some great community work, whether that's online or offline, find out who else is doing the same work in your area and network with them.
Yeah.
Talk to them, get involved. You could come and speak at UC Day, but there are a lot of people out there that we might not, or these guys may not know about. So, don't be afraid to get involved.
We're always looking for speakers for like the cloud user group. So anyone who's basically focusing around Skype, Exchange, 365, Azure, EMS, come speak to us, and we'll happily.
It's a great first step as well, because we're not running user groups that are clicky or anything like that, like some of the older, more established ones can see. We want people to come and speak. We don't want it to be the same old people coming time after time. No one wants to hear Steve talking about hybrid again, right? We want new people each time to talk and share their knowledge, because that's where people gain the value. If you come to a user group and you hear somebody talking about what they did everything, you don't need to be an expert consultant. You just need to have done it and have your own take on it. It doesn't have to be the newest thing that you've done. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to be the world-leading expert. Just come and share. And if you're a bit nervous about doing it, just give it a go. Ask one of us if we'll speak alongside you. Check through your session first. We'll be more than happy. What we'd love to do is help build a great stream of new speakers who want to talk at UC Day. And for me, the first place I spoke at, it was Office 365 user group. From then, I was able to speak at a conference in Las Vegas, again before as an MVP, spoke at TechEd, Ignite, and all because I said, right, I'm really terrified of speaking at any of these things, but I'd love to do it. And I just went to the first user group, had a pint beforehand. For me, whatever helps for you, that settled my nerves. I don't do that anymore. But yeah, it was the first one. It took a lot of guts to do, I thought. And if I'd never have done that, then I wouldn't be an MVP now helping run a conference with Andy.
So you find a lot of people that are happy talking to customers within their job roles. As soon as you take them out that comfort zone, people that don't know.
As soon as you put them into a room that you start guessing that your audience knows more than you, that's when your nerves hit.
Yes, definitely.
You kind of have to sit there and think, there's a reason why I'm standing here. I am, I've got, well, not the expert.
You don't always have to be right. If someone says, "Oh, I did this and it didn't work that way," we all learn something.
Yeah.
And if we're prepared to accept that there's always, and this goes to every customer I go to as well. Just because I'm MVP doesn't mean I know more about things than other people. I expect that if I go to any customer, there'll be somebody sitting in the room who has spent 6 months learning about one specific thing that I don't know about.
Yeah.
Right? There's always going to be someone out there that knows more than you. Same with the user groups. Tom Arbuthnot, one of the top Skype for Business people in the UK, did a session, and a guy from another Microsoft partner was asking questions, complicated questions throughout his session. Pulled him alongside after the session and said, "Why don't you speak as I want to have a good audience?" And Tom got heckled by someone who knew just as much as he did, but the guy didn't want to go up and speak himself.
Yeah.
And I thought this guy would have been perfect to speak at our user group, but also Tom had to deal with that sort of, not heckling, but challenging.
Yeah.
And you just deal with it, because you'll never know the most ever. There'll always be someone who knows a lot more.
Just on that point, speaking in user groups and meetups are fantastic. You should absolutely go and get involved in them. Also remember that there's blogging, there's forums, there is just social media, there's podcasts, there's tweeting. All of those things add up to being a huge amount of community contributions that we would then look at to receive the MVP award. So one thing I would recommend, if you go onto the mvp.microsoft.com, you can go onto the search function for finding an MVP. You are able to find a lot of UK MVPs on that page. If you are looking for somebody to mentor you, go and have a look. Go and contact them directly, and get involved. That would be my advice. Just get involved.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, the MVP program before I joined, it was like a lot of stigma around it, and it's like a secret society type thing, and that was like perception some people was talking to me about. And I was like, well, because the criteria is so hidden back, if everybody knew what the criteria was, it'd just be worthless, right? So there has to be some kind of firewall in between that. But how Microsoft's trying to address that stigma now and become much more open and start talking to people who are looking to come into the program.
Says the person who has the MVP lead for the UK broadcasting live.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. There are stigmas and perceptions, and some of them are right, some of them are wrong.
Yeah.
I think when you're maybe not an MVP, you feel like you would like to be an MVP, so you feel there's a stigma attached to not being an MVP. But actually, MVP is brilliant, and all three of you have done amazing work. I work with community leaders as part of my meetup community leaders group, equally as brilliant. They may not do as much because they might have more family commitments, or they just can't do the same level of work. That doesn't make them any less of a great community person. But when we're looking at the MVP award, the premise of it is that you are outstanding, you are that little bit further above because of the amount that you can do. And that's why there's only 160 in the UK.
So I started just by throwing stuff on my blog post just for me to remember it, and kind of escalated from that point, right? So it never set out to be one, it just sort of happened.
But that's the right way to do it, because if you are working towards your MVP award, as Steve said earlier, what are you going to do the next year when you have achieved your goal? And it is every 12 months, so let me be really clear. You will be nominated, we will look at your past 12 months worth of activity, and you will hopefully receive the award. We then evaluate you, and it actually turns out to be 10 or 11 months later, for the work that you've done. If you have not kept those community levels as high as they were when we gave you the award, we will retire you from the programme, and not in a bad way, but it is all about encouraging the very best community contributors to be MVPs.
In terms of the events that you do, Andy and Steve, you guys also help community events with different things as well. So can you tell us a bit about that? People who've got events who are struggling to you know, for Subway vouchers and what have you.
Yeah, Subway vouchers. Everyone laughs at my Subway vouchers, but actually, you know,
Domino's would be better.
I know. So we're very aware of the fact, whether you're an MVP or a community leader, that it is expensive to run events like this, and you need funding and you need assistance. This is a much larger event, so it's a whole different financial infrastructure that's needed. But for meetups and user groups, actually, I think that the three things that are most important are: where are you going to hold your meetup? Who's going to come and speak? And how are you going to pay for the catering? Because it's usually of an evening and it's between 7 and 9 o'clock. So we've looked at that framework and said, we're creating, or I'm not creating actually, one of our community members, Gary Whitaker, has created a speaker app that you can go to, and it will be live in the next week, that you can go to and you can find over 100 Microsoft speakers. So that's Microsoft employees who've put themselves forward, MVPs and other community leaders. You can also apply for Subway sandwiches. So we can, probably up to about 50 people, support you to have your Subway sandwiches paid for. But you need to give us notice to be able to do that. And funding-wise, if you believe you have a large conference like this that you think Microsoft should be involved in, you need to try and contact us and tell us about it, which isn't always easy with large companies, but you can see me, I'm the face of MVP, you can email me, I'm happy to have my email address published.
Yeah. Always plaster it over everything.
Yes, exactly.
24/7 response.
But we want to be helpful.
When the idea came about to do UCLA, you were the first person really outside of the group that we were talking, we went to, and with the user groups as well, see what the steps were to try and get Microsoft support. And that, you gave us the right, some advice that we took, some we didn't, but ultimately good advice.
We had a conversation about paying for events, didn't we?
Yes, people should have to pay. But no, we can do this.
We can do this for free and we do it for free.
Awesome.
Having never done it before.
Oh, well, you live and learn, don't you?
Look at this now. This is amazing.
Right, it's been excellent. Kind of on a tight schedule because I need to get Stally in before he goes to his session. So it's going to be a quick hello and goodbye. So thank you very much for coming on.
Cheers.
Insight.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to see you again.
Again, yes. I'll see you in about 15 minutes. Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay.